Good morning. Welcome to Daybreak Africa, coming to you from our studio right here in Ondo City. I am Angela Daku.
And yes, it's a beautiful morning once again. My name still remains Ikhonede Joshua Adeji. Good morning, guys.
Good morning, Joshua Ikhonede. It's a beautiful morning.
Yeah, it's a beautiful morning. I think I saw the sun this morning, so I'm just hopeful it stays like that this week.
I don't understand. I don't understand with this sun.
It gets to a point.
What's with you and this weather?
You see, the weather determines my mood sometimes.
Really?
Because all through last week, many don't realize I've been dealing with the fever, like cough, catarrh, and all those things. So it's not making me express myself. I have to be taking pepper soup all through the weekend instead of taking proper jollof rice from firewood. Like
you can see mix it now.
Mix it with
it
doesn't work. It doesn't work. It doesn't work so well. It doesn't work so well. It doesn't work so well.
You can eat the rice first, then take pepper soup later, so that it's been much more
sometimes pepper soup has its own taste. Rice has its own taste. So it's not good to mix taste. The only thing I mix taste, maybe sometimes we want to mix egusi with okra. Sometimes it works fine. So.
However, talking about mixing and making things to make sense. If you look at our society today, we're lacking in many areas.
A lot of
many areas. We want to talk about education. We want to talk about governance. We want to talk about leadership, followership, and the rest of them. We are at a point where many believe we cannot even get it right again. Yeah. Many have lost hope, if you ask me.
Many have lost hope, understandably. I won't lie to you. I understand them that have lost hope, because to a very large extent, even the holy books will say that when hope is extended far beyond its reach, it makes the hearts become sick and all that. So definitely it gets to a point where it gets tiring, because sometimes you feel this thing should have worked by now. Bro, you can't come and be telling me that we've passed my financial target and at the end of the day I can't still use my money to buy things properly. You can't be telling me that don't worry, come and invest, you will treasure whatever you're investing, and at the end of the day I'm coming to invest and I'm facing insecurities in the sense that anybody, and insecurities on multiple levels, because one, you could face terrorism here, I'm talking about terrorism and insecurities. Okay, Kwara State now, they had to move their camp from where it was to Ilorin just because of insecurities. And that was the Kwara State that was never experiencing it. Look at Niger State, look at Benue. Benue was the trend for some time than Plateau State. I don't know how it went down. Hopefully maybe it's not as brutal as it was before. And no matter what it does, I want things to work, but it doesn't seem as if it's working. I think I understand
I guess that's the reason why the governor of Niger State is trying to do what he wants to do, asking preachers to submit their sermons before the day of delivery, so that he gets to vet whatever it is that they're trying to deliver to the people. Most of the times we see issues of hate speeches,
and all sentiments and all that comes from preachings and all.
So I understand his place, but maybe the method he's trying to use.
No, I'm even wondering how it's going to work, because I was thinking through it. I was saying, because I understand how preaching works sometimes. Many times, these revelational kind of preachings, there are some that are inspirational. While on the spot where you are talking, some things just comes up, and maybe those things are not in the curriculum. So if you mistakenly just go out of it,
you end up in prison.
So, but definitely, I think majorly it's just the guidelines, and they should just. But then we look at it holistically, because I don't know if it's going to work. I don't know.
Because if it's just the guidelines, just like you stated, preaching most times is inspirational. So that even if the guideline is fine, hate speeches and incitement can come from anywhere.
Because someone can speak passionately and just be going on and on, and sometimes misguided passions. That's why I think to a very large extent, though. Yeah. Though sometimes you should be trained. Let's wait to the discussion. Let's wait to the discussion. Yeah.
I guess we'll just wait for the discussion, because definitely this is what we're going to be talking about on our discussion segment today. So we'll be going off right now for the report of the day. So do stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to the show. Just joined us to Daybreak Africa, and yes, it's time to go straight into our discussions for today. Today we'll be looking at a very vital topic that is trending across the nation. It's no news actually to many people that the clerics in Niger State must submit sermons for approval, according to the governor in the person of Umar Bago. He made this statement weeks ago where he was talking, even in an interview, to reaffirm his stance on this, saying he never banned evangelism in the state, but every preacher, be it a Christian or a Muslim, must submit their preachings first on the Friday, then seek approval. And also any preacher who wants to actually preach within the state must first seek authorization before they can do anything according to their religious practices. And this is coming as a result of issues of insecurities that have begun to trend within the state, and is trying to just curb it in its own ways, in the actual sense, looking at the fact that maybe the religious leaders actually are the ones fueling some of these insecurities, not just within the state, even across the country. And he has talked about the fact that this is done even in Saudi Arabia as well. And if you follow the news, you'll discover that Bago also had closed down a radio station recently in Niger State, looking at the fact that he said they were causing violence due to their tantrums on their radio station. He also began to, arrest citizens with dreadlocks and all that within the state as of April this year. Well, we'll be looking at this holistically, especially the ban on preaching on the state, except you seek approval. And to discuss with us today, we have with us a clergyman in the house who happens to also be a former executive with the Christian Association of Nigeria here in Ondo State. He's currently an executive with the Unification of Cherubim and Seraphim Church. He is also the founder of Adoration Global Ministries in the person of Pastor Olakunle B. Martins. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thanks, my very good brother and sister. It's my pleasure to be here with you.
And it's our pleasure to actually have you on the show to discuss this vital topic with us. And let's go straight onto the point for today. A governor in Nigeria talking about the fact that if you want to preach in my state, you must first seek authorization. You must submit your sermons for approval. How do you see that move by the governor himself from your own perception?
Well, I want to appreciate you for giving me the opportunity to discuss this issue. First and foremost, let me say the governor himself, you should know, is a governor of a state. He must be a person of good character. And let me say to you, I studied or read his profile. He's a gentleman to the core. He's well read and exposed. He must have seen some things that could have led to that utterances. But be that is may, it is still absolutely wrong for him to pronounce that sermon must be submitted for scrutiny before going to the pulpit. Are you getting my point?
Yeah.
You see, there is a clear difference between government and the church.
Maybe the mosques or religious bodies.
Are you getting it? The government will have to face its government affairs to establish good governance. The church leaders or religious leaders, they have responsibilities of looking after their religion, be it church or mosque. So it is not incumbent on him to, it's like placing sanction, it's like restricting them from saying the truth to the global world. Though there could be an observation underlined that he knew to himself that he has never exposed. But as he has pronounced it, he has freedom of expression, and we have freedom of worship. Thank you.
He has freedom of expression, and we have freedom of worship, which is something embedded in the actual constitution of Nigeria. But then he cited reasons that the fact that some of these religious leaders sometimes make use of their platform to fuel unpatriotic acts, to fuel tantrums, to fuel hate speeches, and which sometimes disintegrate into violence, into terrorism, into things that causes instability, insecurity within the state. And he, in his own wisdom, thinks it's best we scrutinize many of those teachings to actually, safeguard our state, because if there is no spark, if there is no smoke from somewhere, we won't experience fire. So don't you think, in his own view too as well, he has a bit of right to also, step into these bounds to try as much as possible to safeguard the state?
Well, he's talking of, is by virtue of state of insecurity, he brought out that idea. You see, it's not for him to sanction them. It is for him to call on the religious leaders, their leaders, for a roundtable discussion. We have been noticing state of insecurity. If he's tracing any to them, let them know. So At that point, they will reach a compromise. By and large, there could be a committee from the government working together with the religious leaders in order to provide adequate security for the states. Not for you to tell them to come and submit their sermon topic for scrutiny.
Which is something that...
Are you getting my point now? Even the Bible is so clear. The Bible says, go ye to the world. Go and preach the gospel. That is one of the standards of the Bible. And if you are there to scrutinize, the Bible says, he who removed from this word, that is the word of God, that his name will be removed from the book of life. And whosoever that has to eat, there will be plague added to his life. And you cannot scrutinize without you removing or adding. Are you getting my point? So that is not the best approach. Call on the religious leaders. Let them come together. Nobody is saying it is good to be experiencing insecurity. But for you to, everybody has a role to play. Not just the government. The religious leaders, the social leaders, everybody must be involved when security matters are discussed. So if you have noticed that something wrong are coming out of this angle of religious setting, call their leaders to order. Then at your own end, that is why you have your SSS, DSS, whatever, work better. Add values to their life, empower them, give them some things that will push them to the field for a good job. Don't deny them their rights. Let them go for you. They can easily do it. If you are saying they should, because of hate speech, it is still within Niger. Someone could be throwing hate speech from America. Outside your state. Hate speech or whatever derogatory statement can still come and be entering your state. So if you are limiting or you are saying they should not preach within your state, what of the one on the social media? That goes directly to the neighborhood of your state, to every house of your state.
Even at the convenience of
At your convenience of that, can you cop that? So that is not it. Thank you.
Well, some people have tend to see this as a ploy to stifle the freedom of religion in the state. And also, I'd like to ask if you can see this to be like a constitutional act, and how long do you think it can even exist, even if it comes to implementation?
The idea cannot even come to implementation. Forcing it on them is like bringing another crisis to the state. Because that becomes a war from the national body of every of the religious setting. It will never be a case of, for instance, in the Christian religion, it will never be a case of Khan at Niger State alone. The Islamic community will come out at national and global level. You cannot silence them. So it cannot even come up. And that was why I said in the first instance at the opening of my thought with you that it's a brilliant chap, it's well read, it's exposed. So he should know what to throw into the community. He has been bankers of 3 different banks. He has, I think, 2 masters. He was once a member of House of Representatives. So look at the profile. It must have had an exposure. So he must have understood better how to handle this case. It shouldn't have come out of his mouth
in the first
instance. Because before you know it, people will be thinking otherwise. If he's a Muslim person now, Christian body will be saying he's playing game with them. He's only coming up like religious leader. He only wanted to silence the Christian community. And if he's a Christian leader, the Islamic religion will be saying he's only factoring them. He wanted to destroy them. But he never wanted to say no Christian community in this state again. So he's only trying, he will fuel crisis if he forces on them. He cannot even stand a test of time. It has gone, we have gone beyond that. We are talking of religion. It is different from governance. Face your government. It is not even in your manifesto in the first instance. What has been your manifesto? Have you implemented every one of them? Go and fight state of insecurity as applied constitutionally and morally.
Although there's this ideology that some people tend to believe religious leaders most times during their preaching and dialogue with the people, they tend to make certain statements that might incite violence or create this kind of hostile environment for both the government and even the people themselves. Do you see this as an actual problem in the society, probably one of the factors contributing to the crisis we are facing in the country?
You see, preachers are of various backgrounds. They have different thoughts. Some pastors, they are like militants at the pulpit. Some are like civilians at the pulpit. If you are centering on religious body, that they are inciting crisis in the community, are they the only one in charge of crowd that will be uttering some statements that could fuel crisis within the community? They are not the only one. You see, what you need to do, as I've said earlier, you can invite them, call them to order, advise them. This is the situation of things. And also, they are at times acting like opposition to the government to ensure that the government sits tight. No, everybody cannot cross their arms
and watch the government
and be watching the government collapsing. They know what comes to your account from federal government. Fact. They know what you receive at a particular month, and you are saying no salary. They will talk. Everybody says, you see, technology has widened the scope of people's reasoning. You could be in Abuja and be behaving as if you are in Canada because of technology. You are linked directly with everybody. Are you getting my point? So you cannot use that as a weapon to silence the Christian community. Let them continue to say what they are. Use your manifesto, the power of your dynamism and productivity in the system to convince them that you are in charge.
So you feel the governor should be more of the major authority to do his own part and let the religious leaders do their own part, rather than this approach is making use of to just curb whatever they are doing from their hand. Because when he was talking, he cited Saudi Arabia as an example of a country that has done this. And if we're not even citing Saudi Arabia alone, we know countries like Russia, countries like China, they have a bit of embargoes on religion, to a point that there is a level of message you can never preach in those countries, whether you are a Christian, you are a Muslim, you are a Buddhist, you are anything, and all that, so that you will not, distribute, because information sometimes at the time when people receive sometimes gets to them and all. So are you saying that, because you said something, you said they are not the only ones, religious leaders are not the only ones that controls crowd. The other people who controls crowd at the end of the day. And he cited reasons of other countries doing this. Don't you think, though I understand your perspective that we all have freedom of worship, but don't you think to a very large extent, I'm just trying to see if you could see light a bit in what he's trying to do as well. To see that even though he's trying to do, you've encouraged him to do his own part, which is also very important. But don't you think to a very large extent we should start looking at things like that, because we can't just leave, like you talked about, multiple preachers with their styles. Some are militant, some are this, and some, I know so many preachers, both Islam and Christian, that they can be very careless on the pulpit, or whatever platform they are making use of. They just say things out of proportion, and the next thing, their followers just picks up. We've seen a preacher in this country have a movement that almost killed a chief of staff just because he wanted to pass through their route of worship, and the next thing, it became a very terrible sight that the country shouldn't have beheld at that particular time. Don't you think to a very large extent too, government should be able to curb the activities
more like regulate,
more like regulate their activity or the kind of information that gets to the citizens?
Curbing is different from managing. Okay. You cannot prevent them from that. You see, you mentioned Saudi Arabia. The percentage of Christians in Saudi Arabia, if there's any, should be less than 5%.
Definitely.
Now Nigeria is multi-ethnical. We only talk of Yoruba, Igbo, Hausa.
But we have over 250 tribes.
We have more than 250 tribes. We only talk of Christian, Muslim, and traditional worshippers. But underneath, we have a lot of religion. And that was why I said earlier, if you see, it's the chief security officer of the state. He has to protect the states, to include human and their properties. What I mean is, in doing that, in applying that, invite them for discussion. These are the things you notice in your utterances. Even from there, several other things will come out to him that he didn't know. So when they come together at the round table, they will fashion out modalities together. So at the end of the day, there will be a communique issued to include the signature of the religion leader and the government. That become partially an act for the state to govern
the state.
Them. So the leaders of the religion body will go back to their setting. This is what we are to operate within the state. That is not to say you cannot preach and say the truth, but insults must not be encouraged. In the course of you saying the truth, when you are saying preach, stealing is not good. You are not insulting anybody. Fornication is bad. You are not insulting. But it's not as if you are pointing at anyone for doing it. So they have to come together, reason together, and agree together the best way to approach the state, so that you don't set the state on fire. If you have it as a policy today, and someone else comes tomorrow and abolish it, what happens? Your legacy is destroyed, and that will be bad. So, but when they come together, they reason together and they apply together. Nobody, no governor will want his state to be consumed by fire. So he has that approach to control. But in the course of you controlling, it's not as if you are forcing or intimidating or using a kind of you are saying curbing. You can't just be curbing. Curbing is too heavy. But you can manage. Call them, let us manage this thing together. That's how to do it.
Well, let's look at it. Let me just comment on something. Religious leaders.
Yeah.
How well do you think they can be very useful to curbing insecurities within the state, from your own perspective?
In fact, they have major roles to play, because they have reasonable crowds within their hands. You see, let me tell you, the crisis in this country is not in the Hassel Rock. The problems of this country is not in the Hassel Rock, and the solution is not in the Hassel Rock. It is in our churches and our mosques. If churches could be settled without rancor, without crisis, and you're able to tell everyone you preach the truth, the rule and the raw truth, and they are abiding by it, the society will be at peace. But someone who stole millions of dollars, you make him a chairman of your harvest. Are you getting my point?
Yes.
When he donates heavily, you find it difficult to tell him the fraud is not good. You will not be able to preach against fraud if he sits before you, because you can easily assess his salary and know his worth, and you know what he's donating as a chairman of an harvest. Are you getting it? So if we are able to sanitize the church, if the church is well sanitized, let church come back to what church is. Let mosque, Islamic setting, let them come back to what they are. Are you getting it? Not, you see, churches are being, they are merchandised. People are going too far. They cannot say the truth. Are you getting my point?
Yeah.
Okay, look at the dressing sense of our people in the church, in the house of God. If that happens in the house of God, what happens at the club?
Oh, that's not good at the club.
Are you getting my point now? So if the church could be sanitized, the government officials will have less work to do, even on the issue of economy, on the issue of insecurity, on the issue of infrastructure. Because they must have known the right thing, because they will go to church on Sunday. They will know pastor will tell them, you have done something wrong. All right. Are you getting my point? So that is just the case.
So where do we begin with sanitizing the religious, body? Where do we begin sanitizing and making everything go to the way it's supposed to be?
I always say this. Every Christian community either ministry or fellowship, what they teach is leadership. There will be leadership conference, leadership seminar. They have forgotten to teach, and they don't teach followership. It is a good follower that becomes a good leader. But everywhere, seminar, good leadership, leadership conference, leadership conference, leadership conference. Can you bypass followership and become auto leadership? No. To start with, every of the members right from, okay, now I think the government has done one thing for this country, a favor. I think they have introduced history again.
Yeah, true. To all schools.
Back to all schools.
Yeah.
If you don't know history of your family, anything can come up.
Very true.
Are you getting it?
Yeah.
They can tell you are not entitled to the right of the family because you don't know the history. They can give you another name. They can even give you another man as your father. But now history is coming back. Likewise in the church, you catch them young. It's not too late. You catch them young. Let them know what life is all about. And when you are talking of church, church is not spirituality alone. Even social life, administrative life, you teach your people. You let them know your dress sense. Let them know. So when they are doing all this, they will know clearly the difference between evil and good. And that's how to start. You start from your home. And from your home now to the church. Because every religious leader has a home. You cannot teach your children very well. What will you preach in the church? So curbing insecurity, curbing malice within the system, start from you and I, from your home and the church too. They have larger responsibility.
They have larger responsibilities. I think that responsibility is part of this. But then I was looking at one of the things Bago was saying in the actual sense, and it brought me back to something that I have always wanted to ask that question about many religious settings and all of that. Especially, okay, I know of Islam to a very large, I know Islams are divided into Sunnis, Shiites, and co. But to a very large extent, I know the church has multiple denominations. Multiple denominations. Today, you see the PFN there, you see the CAN there. Even the CAN sometimes seem the CAN of the North has their own factions, the CAN of the South has their own factions, and all that. And I think this lapses sometimes tends to make anyone can just spring up today and say they are a ministry, and there is no kind of approval towards the fact that they are ministries, except they go to CAC to just get. And don't you think it's high time even religious leaders from their perception should begin to screen out people who just create institutions out of religion? Before you become a church, before you become a mosque, what are the requirements that are set, like guidelines, before we can say, okay, this church is something that you can affirm and all that? Don't you think it's high time the church or the mosque gets to that point to be able to at least time those or affirm those that as religious organizations before we can affirm them as churches?
That is a good point. But there will be constitutional crisis. Constitutional crisis. Because the Constitution says there is freedom of worship. And before you know it, they apply to CAC, Corporate Affairs Commission, get registered and approved by the government. So what will you say? The government is the owner of the land. Even if you are a GO, you cannot supervise beyond what satisfies the owner of the church now, the founder. Because government has given an approval. Are you getting it? And that was why I thought of followership. All those ones that are funding churches came from particular leaders. So they are product of their leaders, anywhere you see them. So it is what their leaders must have cultivated in them that they are throwing to the public. So you must train them very well. Let them know if you are going into religious activities, these are the ways to go by it. But however, the word of God must come to manifestation. Sign of end time.
The signs of the end time.
Sign of the end time. It must come. If everything had gone well, what it means the Bible is not right. If there is no state of insecurity now, because the Bible says at the end of as the end time approaches, there will be crisis, war from one country to the other. Father and the children will not understand themselves. These are the things. These are the signs of end time. It will surely come. Still, you can still manage it.
But, well, in as much as there is a constitution saying that there's freedom of worship, don't you think there can also be policies drafted still by the government to help regulate the widespread of these institutions? Because some of them are actually causing harm.
That is, the government can do it. That is why they will repeal. They can repeal a particular section of the constitution if it is too harsh. The constitution, we made it to suit our purpose, not to dominate our life. So if government sees it, that it should be amended, maybe from the perspective of the religion leaders. If you are registering any church, let there be conditions of this, of this, of that. If the government will subscribe to it, good for you. And that is why we have two legislative houses. You go through the House of Representatives and that of Senate. If so passed into law, that's all. Are you getting it? Because if you look at within the religious setting, there are crises and causing commotion too within the system. Everybody is just there. We are pastor. Like I was preaching somewhere about 2-3 days ago. I said, let's go to all these churches, bring out digger. Let's be digging altars and see what happens. See what you bring out from the altars. Altars are corroded and corrupted. Are you getting it now? People will just, majority of our people are in the church of darkness, not in the church of light. They are not out for spreading the gospel of Jesus Christ. They are prophets of their belly. They are prophets of Baal, convincing people. So if government says it can regulate and curb them, the moment you say you are a Christian, we know what Christian stands for. Face it. You are a Muslim, you know what it stands for. Face it. If government could do it, so it be it. But as a Christian, what happens to you? Why are we getting... Sir, man, may God look down onto us.
Well, before we continue the discussion, let's go for a very short break. We'll be right back. All right, this is the point where we go on for a good start. When we're right back, we'll continue with the second phase of the discussion, so do not go anywhere. Stay with us.
All right, welcome back to the show. Just joined us, it's still Daybreak Africa. I hope you enjoyed Go Start. I hope you learned one or two things from Go Start. I hope you're going to do something with what you've learned from Go Start, which is very, very important. But then it's time to return to our discussions for today. We've been looking at the... should I say restriction? Yeah, restriction on preachings in Niger State, where the governor is asking that every preacher submits their preaching first to be for approval before they can go out there to preach. And we've been discussing with Pastor Olakunle B. Martins, who happens to be a clergyman in himself, and he has been taking us through so many aspects of this particular move by the Niger State government. And before we went to the short break, sir, you were talking a lot about followership being the major problem we are having currently in Nigeria, proper followership, and the fact that many religious houses don't teach about that. They just want people to be leaders but terrible followers. Now, how deep do you think the problem of followership has eaten into our system as a country to a point that it has gotten us to where we are today?
Once again, thank you. The issue of followership, possibly as a menace now, is as a result of, you see, it is whatever you plant that you will reap also. Are you getting it?
Yes, sir.
You see, if you see our schools, it is what you taught the students in the class that they will know and carry on. So everybody must come to a scenario whereby you must teach everybody around you, especially the followers, number one, moral. Are you getting it? Moral. You see, when moral is missing, some religious leaders, you will see them, they will speak fire. But look at the address sense. Some gospel artists, they will have good message in the course of the administration, song ministration in their album. But when it comes to visuals, look at their dressing. Look at, are you getting it now? Look at their outfits. It contradicts
whatever they are preaching.
Whatever they are preaching or singing. And what lacks there is moral. Are you getting it? The moment you have education without moral, you will hit the rock. So you must come back to let people know what moral stands for and the value of morality in the system. That is when you get it right with the followers. Every followers can speak English now. Our boys, our younger ones in the secondary schools, they are speaking Queen's English. They speak well. But when you see their approach, when you see the way they talk, the way they walk, the way they dress, you will see clearly that moral is absolutely missing. So we must take care of that.
But then I want to ask, because this issue of morals you talked about now reminds me of some of the things that Umar Bago did. Especially when I started, I think I pointed it out that around April, they began to arrest people within the states with dreadlocks, with things like that. Dreadlocks, maybe those that are sagging. We've seen multiple governors in Nigeria do that. I remember in your state, at a particular time, there used to be Operation Bust. Operation Bust was such that it was even military to the point that once they get you, whether you're sagging, whether your hairstyle is just contradicting anything, they come, they arrest you, they beat you up. Some just make sure that they take you to the nearest salon to just maybe skin the hair and then do one or two things like that and cool. Though many people would come out to say dressing should not be something people should look at to judge a person. You know, this terminology will make use of. You don't judge a book by its cover. We've seen people that they are on skin and they are thieves, they are frauds. I've seen people that they are on dreadlocks or something like that, and they are of, quite good character. What's your take on this, contradictory views on what morals should look like?
You know why the government some governors are taking that steps. This is Federal Republic of Nigeria. Every country has its or her own
standards
of everything, including education, dressing, and are you getting it now?
Yes, sir.
You see, for instance, within the community of the Yorubas, the Ududuas, and you are a Yoruba man, there are certain expectations from you. You cannot wake up in the morning and extend handshake to your father in Yoruba land. You must prostrate. Are you getting it? As a lady, you kneel down on your two knees to greet your elder ones, either in the morning, anywhere. So when those ones are missing, moral is missing. And coming back to the state of getting people arrested that is, you see, that is the law of the land as at that time. The government or the governor of that state did not just go into action. They must have announced, they must have called some stakeholders to meetings and address them. This is what we need in our state, this is what we want in our state, this is what we'll do in our state. Are you getting it? So the governor or the government must have carried people along. So it is those that defrauded or that faulted the law of the land that were apprehended. Though they were not arrested to be destroyed. The arrest in those cases was for correction, not for destruction. Because it was not criminal. So majority of those people apprehended at that time were even selected. I heard of it. They were selected and retrained. And that is why the issue of prison in Nigeria is no longer pronounced. We don't have prisoners. They said they are in correctional center. Are you getting it? So they are to revive them and to review their life. So that is what the government was doing at that time. They were not doing it to destroy them. They were doing that to ensure they live a good life.
Well, on the part of morality and education, do you think that the level of the citizens' education can actually create an environment where all these religious sentiments and, you know, hate speeches and wrong ideologies can actually thrive? Do you think that can actually incite such?
At education.
Yes, the level of education of the citizens. Do you think when it's weak, it creates this toxic environment where all these wrong ideologies and sentiments can actually thrive?
You see, the level of education increases daily. The government should understand that people are knowing more than ever. Yesteryears, when you have meeting in Aso Rock, when you have meeting anywhere, nobody will know it. You just come and tell us the outcome of the meeting, either good or bad. In most cases, you come and tell us your intention, what favors you. But in recent times, as you are doing it,
People are following up.
people are following you. You cannot deceive them anymore. I have said earlier, technology has widened the scope of every man. Even our parents that could not read and write, they are using Android phone. If they cannot read what is on WhatsApp, they can watch the video on WhatsApp and it will communicate to them. If they cannot read on Facebook account, they will watch video and see images that will interpret to them what that stands for. Are you getting it? So when education is getting broader, wider, there must be a kind of monitoring. You need to monitor it and guide it so that people will not misapply it. There won't be abuse of the legacy of education. So if that one is done, that is when moral and caution will come in. That you are well read doesn't mean you are older than your father. Are you getting me?
Yeah.
That you are richer than your father or your elder brother doesn't mean you are superior to them. When you are rich, you are rich. You stay where your richness is. When you come back home and see your elder brothers, you must forget about your riches. You must give them their due respect. Are you getting it? So those are the things we must try to incorporate into the system. If education is widening, let morality follow too. Thank you.
But then, so now you talked about regulation, which I want to just look into regulation. And I discovered that the same Bago banned a radio station trying to regulate their statements, their insightful statements towards the people. A radio station, a popular one as at that. And we've seen it happen multiple times. President Muhammad Buhari of blessed memory, there was a time he banned Twitter. I think that was one of the darkest phase of many Nigerians. I remember for someone like me was a Twitter user 247. Well, sharp confessions though. Many of us still went with the with the whole tricks to just ensure that we were back to it. Now, so do you feel regulation too should also be like maybe the social media, because you talked about the exposure that technology is giving us to a large extent, to a point that everybody accesses knowledge at, speed of light. We are all
That's
accessing knowledge, so we know what's happening. You can't deceive us anymore. But then, do you support regulations in the sense that when you do this, we ban you, we put you on embargo for some time. When you do that, we ban you, put you on embargo for some time, so that we can caution the kind of informations that really goes out and the application of those informations.
Well, regulation is good. It should not be political. Are you getting it? I, as a person, about 2 or 3 months ago, I posted it on Facebook. The content creators needed to be regulated. Imagine a scenario, someone creating a content, a lady of, let's say 35, 40 years old, wearing ordinary pants and bra, all in the name of creating content. Is that not madness? Stupidity of highest order. What they throw into the social media in recent times is evil. We can regulate, but not at the expense of freedom of speech. Not at the expense of freedom of speech. You don't regulate because you have an opposition. Even your regulation can affect your own self, your family, and your party, your church, your religion body. So the moment it's cut across and people see it as this regulation is civil and it is for everyone, people will accept it. But all because someone's radio station is not supporting your program, is anti to your government, you will close it down. It's wrong. Then what becomes the function of NBC then? What are they looking at? Because NBC has a role to play in that case. That is if the radio station has done anything contrary to the rule of NBC. But if not, they will take it up, they will challenge the government and possibly sue the government and get claims. It is possible. I support regulation, but not intimidation. Regulation without intimidation. You don't intimidate with your regulation.
Well, many people tend to believe that we have issues of regulations in Nigeria. That's why we see most of these things playing out all the time. If you would agree with me, most people do not even know the difference between freedom of speech and hate speeches or insightful speeches or utterances.
The line is not there.
So how will you explain these two different things?
I will still go back to what I said. You see, when you have your followers does not limit to younger ones. Even within this environment, we have followers. You will be trained. You see, when you graduate, even with first class, the company that employs you will tell you what to do. Forget about what you have acquired in the university. Are you getting it? So we will continue to teach our people, telling them what to say and what not to say. There are times people are too vulgar. They will just open their mouth irrationally, uncoordinatedly. It's not done. You can't, it's not just, even at times it's not because you are abusing. And the truth of the matter is there are certain things, the moment see you as a journalist, as a broadcaster, as a newscaster, people are expecting certain things from you, qualities. So the moment you could not prove that or you deviate from that, it reaches another meaning. If my father is a principal, my father is a journalist, my father is a teacher, my father is a doctor, we are expecting certain things from the children of that house. That will preach or that will show to the world that truly these ones are well trained. You cannot be vulgar because you have freedom of speech. If you are vulgar, you will be penalized. You cannot, that does not, you see, being vulgar is different from being you can criticize constructively.
Okay. Constructive criticism.
Yes, that does not mean you should insult. Are you getting it? Someone was, how would you call a president of a country a criminal? All because you are fighting for your people. Do you know what the word criminal stands for?
And that's an accusation on its own.
That, you see, in that case, sense is not there. You should be able to control your tension when you are doing things. The president of a Nigeria can never be a criminal. Even if he had not satisfied your needs, your wants, your desire. That has never made him a criminal. Are you getting it? So those are the things we need to tell our people. Challenge the president. Talk to him, call him to order, but don't insult him. If you look at me as I was coming in, telling you about Bago. I said, I read about him. He's an intelligent person. I mean,
Yeah.
he's well trained. And as I said, at that point, you can still not ban or restrict religious leaders. I don't have to come out and say he's mad. Are you getting it? That's not the language. So you make a kind of constructive criticism that is not insightful. That people will see you as moralists. There are ways leaders will caution. There are people, they will know that he has been insulted, even when you have not said anything. Because they will not be able to trace any word of insult from it. But action speaks louder than voice. That's all.
Now let's talk about tolerance a bit as we gradually wind down this discussion to a very large extent, because I know to a very large extent one of the things that fuels religious violence is the place of tolerance. And sometimes across borders, whether Christian, Muslim, Buddhist, traditionalist, sometimes when teaching your followers and all that, sometimes they tend to just be misguided by statement. And there's this issue of every religion wants to be the trendy religion, the religion that supersedes. We all know that on the undertone. We know a Christian wants it's that, okay, according to how God says that he wants the whole world to be saved and Christ should be the one that should do that. It's good that all your neighbors knows about Christ and all those kind of things. The Islam too believes that Allah wants them to, be above, you understand, and sometimes, but then there is a point where there's this clash of interest that comes into play, which sometimes happens to many states, and that is where the brewing of terrorism, the brewing of violence comes into play gradually, because we've seen it happen multiple times. And for the governor to be taking this route, because I know the governor to a very large extent will have first-hand informations of a bulk of the security situations within the state. Maybe that is why he turned to spiritual leaders. And like you rightly fully said, maybe the approach he's making use of isn't the best approach. There are many other approaches that he could have made use of, which could have made more, which could have been more effective on his own part. But let's talk about the place of tolerance to a very large extent. You commented a bit on preachers that could be very irrational with statement and all. How do we begin to gradually, encourage people, even preachers, towards tolerance? I know you want your religion to be the best, to be the trending thing, but you don't have to go through this route. You don't have to go through that route to a point that it becomes something where your followers, because some followers, they don't really have gates in their minds. They tend to just boom, take everything hook, line and sinker, and the emotions attached to it. Because when it comes to religion, for people to call it the opium, people definitely can take it out of proportion. How do we begin to caution the place of intolerance so that people can be more tolerant towards? It's good having neighbors that are, so like we have friends that are Muslims, that are traditionalists, and we live fine. We've seen how it plays out, but then there are places where it's not playing fine, to speak, and the tension over time keeps rising gradually, and it's getting to a point where both ethnical and religion, we are getting to the breaking point. How do we begin to address this?
Well, thanks. Tolerance, as the case may be, is a simple thing to me. If you look at, let me give you an analogy or a kind of example. Do you know that Christians are getting married to Muslims?
True. Very true.
Do you know that Muslims are getting married to Christians? So who is going to fight for? Now you are saying there should be crisis. You are building up terrorism. You want to, a particular religion want to wipe out the other. Are you saying you want to wipe out your family as well? Because we have interwoven, we have come together. And one thing I know as a Christian is there's nowhere Jesus said you should fight for him. Nobody fights for God. That I know. God fights for himself. He is the mighty warrior, the man in battle. Are you getting it? You cannot fight for him. We must embrace tolerance at all levels. I used to listen to a particular message in this town It is between 11 and 12 on Fridays, handled by an Islamic faithful cleric. When you listen as a Christian, you will even choose to sponsor that program, because he will never preach out of context. He will tell you what Allah is not asking you to go and kill for him. So Jesus Christ is the Savior and the Lord of our people. He's a cleric, he's an Islamic cleric, scholar that says that. That is tolerance. That does not mean we cannot work together. How many of us can survive? How many Christians can survive without Muslims in this country? How many Muslims can survive
without Christians?
Without Christians.
Some
of them are farmers. They are producing and you are eating. If they are producing and you are not buying, how would they survive? Are you getting my point? So we are brothers. Let me say in the Lord. Are you getting it? If I was saying in Christ, that would be too personal because as a Christian. But every one of us, we belong to God. God created man in his own image. So as he created Mr. X in his religious setting, so he created Mr. Y in his or her religious setting. So we must learn tolerance. It's part of a husband and wife. They cannot live together without tolerating each other. So it's a first class thing that you must take care of. Tolerance. You must. Because we are not of the same nature, we are not of the same background, we are not of the same upbringing. Our training, the training we acquired are from different places. So we must endeavor to tolerate.
Well, we're out of time, but in just 30 minutes to conclude the whole discussion, what are your words to both the government, religious leaders, and even the citizens on how to keep peace and sanity in the country, and also how should insecurity be approached?
Well, to the government and every other agencies, we must know that Nigeria belongs to every one of us. We are a stakeholder. Someone there as a governor has just had an opportunity to be there. You could be there tomorrow. So embrace peace at all costs. Make sure you settle disputes with everyone around you. Be a friend to every neighbor. Let your neighbor be your friend. Don't compromise. Then in case of insecurity, let us begin to talk to our people. What are you doing with arms and ammunition? What are you doing with drugs? What are you doing with smokes here and there? You are destroying your life, not the country. Nigeria will remain Nigeria. You will go and you will be buried. Nothing will happen. So we must continue to tell our people, don't withdraw your service or fellowship by telling them nothing but the truth. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your contributions.
Thanks so much,
to this topic. It has been very, very insightful, and the fact that you picked the major, points has been very, very interesting. Thank you once again for joining us in the program.
Thanks. It's my pleasure to be here once again.
And yes, this is where we'll be going off for sports. For those sports enthusiasts out there, the discussion for today has ended. However, we'll be going off for that last segment, of which we'll be back to say our goodbye. So do enjoy. We'll be right back. Welcome back, and thank you for staying tuned. I hope you enjoyed sport as usual. And yes, we had a fun time today discussing a lot of important points when it comes to religion, insecurity, leadership, and all whatnot with our guest who was in the house with us. Followership as well. Followership.
I think I like that part of followership.
Exactly.
Because I think it's one thing we don't teach all the time. We don't teach that all the time. I think
and it's very essential.
Very essential.
We begin to.
Because I was telling someone that at a particular time that I don't trust you if I don't see your track record as a follower. So if I've never seen you as a follower before, even if you come to me, I will ask you, okay, I don't need to have a sponsor, a godfather. Let me see your track record of followership. At this particular time when you were this, how were you like? At this, because if there are no recommendations of you from those periods, then definitely as a leader, you're going to be very terrible.
There ought to be evidences of what you've done.
Of what
to
you've
build
done over
yourself
time,
to that point of leadership.
And all that. And if we are very good followers, at the end of the day, we will be better leaders at whatever we do, and we'll have a better nation. Though sometimes I feel Bago's move I understand the heart behind it, but I think, just like you said, I don't think that's the best approach. I think there could be multiple approach. I'm just trying to be diplomatic here. There could be multiple approach to just attend to it.
Yeah.
You know, talk to the spiritual leaders, set targets. I think sometimes I've learned over time that if you give responsibilities to people, you will discover that there are many who will find joy in wanting to contribute their quota to whatever you are giving them. And the minute you are doing that, you are giving everybody a sense of belonging. You can tell them, this state is our state. This is where you thrive. This is where you do this. If it scatters, it's your problem. So you have this job to do. And if I trace anything to you, you won't like what I do next. Things like that makes everybody more alert and more distant. So I think that, like I said, there's no way we can take religions from our affairs in the country or from our security tools. Well, it's very important.
And the thing is, we just have to learn how to manage both the government and the religion together, so it can work well for the society, because these are the two bodies that actually build the society, that construct how the society is. So if we're lacking at both sides, or we're not working in sync, then definitely there's going to be a lot of crisis in the country. Well, it has been an insightful discussion so far, and this is a call to every citizen to be much more responsible, being productive and watchful at the same time in all that you get involved in. Well, thank you so much for joining us on this discussion this morning, and this is where we end in this episode of Daybreak Africa. I remain Angela Daku. Have a pleasant day.
And I remain Ikhonede Joshua Odeji. Bye, guys.